have a partner now, and I had to practice quite a bit on being vulnerable to ask and allow to be nurtured and supported. Like, I'm worthy of that. And what does that feel like? Because I have to be honest, it was completely foreign to me.
Hey, my name is Veronica Cisneros, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, a mama of 3 girls, and married for 23 years. I am obsessed with helping you navigate through the seasons of marriage, helping couples like you break free from feeling like roommates. I will teach you the secrets to having a healthy marriage by providing tools and tips to help you reconnect in a way that you can't keep your hands off each other, where flirting and kissing is the norm in your household. Setting intentional time to date, get to know and support each other's dreams and goals so that you can grow together without keeping score or judging one another. Where you feel seen and heard even when you disagree. Where arguments end with mutual respect and understanding. Where you work together to build and strengthen your family so no one feels like they're carrying the weight of the family on their own. These are the necessary skills your children need for you to model so that they develop healthy relationships and thrive in life. This is the Empowered and Unapologetic Podcast. Hey ladies, welcome to the Empowered and Unapologetic Podcast. I am your host, Veronica Cisneros. Today's guest is a licensed RTT therapist, clinical hypnotherapist, coach, and energy healer, and the CEO and founder of Christina. I'm gonna need your help. What is it called?
Just Christina L. Woods. It's easy.
Christina L. Woods. We practiced, we rehearsed right before and totally missed it. She combines her background in corporate leadership along with her life experiences in dealing with trauma and abandonment to empower other women to trust their intuition and set themselves free of self-doubt. She has been honing her intuition and spiritual and energy practice throughout her entire life. And it is this experience, knowledge, and wisdom that she brings to every client. Through deep hypnotherapy and coaching work, she empowers women to shed old programming so they can live the life they deserve. Please help me by welcoming Christina Woods. Hey, Christina.
Hey, thanks so much.
Absolutely.
I love it. Thanks for having me.
So I'm so excited to have you on. I was doing a little bit of research and background on you, and I realized, holy moly, like she was totally a badass in the corporate world, and then took this huge leap and started her own business and went after like her dreams. Can you share with us your story?
Yeah, I would love to. And I'm a mom. I'm a working mom. I had a 30-year corporate career. And just to kind of backtrack a little bit, because I think it leads to my story. I was the oldest of 4, single mom, Italian single mom. And, self-care, personal needs, that was just not anything that was ever mentioned.
Yeah.
It was like a badge of honor if you didn't have self-care and, your family came first and, you're not supposed to have self-needs. And that's just, forget about it.
Yeah.
Forget about it with an Italian accent. So I grew up with a lot of responsibility very, very quickly. And what happened throughout my childhood and growing up was I learned very quickly that if I'm a good girl and I also get good grades and I'm very hyper vigilant and I assess the room and what does everybody need, things are a little bit better. So I got good grades. I went to college. I climbed the corporate ladder very quickly. I was the vice president. I had hundreds of people reporting to me. I became super mom. I would leave pages and pages of notes for my husband when I would travel for work, make this vegetable, do this, very hyper vigilant about everything. And it came to a point, I literally was pulling weeds in my backyard in my pajamas. So just imagine, my mix match TJ Maxx pajamas,
Yep.
pulling weeds,
Totally see it.
and dog poops in the air. The kids didn't pick up the dog poop because, they want the dog, but they don't want to take care of it. And I heard a voice, and call it God, spirit, whatever you want to call it. And it literally said to me, when are you going to stop really focusing on what everybody else wants you, what everybody else, all the other things to make you happy, and focus on what makes you happy?
Yeah.
And it stopped me in my tracks. And I was a little bit annoyed because I thought, are you joking? I have worked so hard. I'm exhausted trying to make this perfect life. And I was married 20 years at that time. I had 2 beautiful boys. I live in Huntington Beach. I have a beautiful house. I had 6 figures in the bank with big fat bonuses, bought the big pool. I'm like, this is like, everyone thought, oh my gosh, you've got it made. I've got a pretty car, all these things. But I've got to be honest, my marriage was literally falling apart. I was on medication for anxiety. I was spending too much. I was eating terrible. I was, I could go down the list. So it was really just at that point, everything was just falling apart. And I really had to think hard about the patterns I saw in my life.
Yeah.
And I had this belief all the time, this guilt, constant guilt. Like, I'm bad, I'm not good, I'm not a good mom, I'm always working, what are all these things? So I just went deep into these patterns, and I realized so much of what I felt was these invisible barriers, these invisible beliefs that I never knew I had because I'd covered them up with perfectionism, good grades, the good career. And what I found was a person who believed she was never enough. And it didn't matter what career I had, how much money was in the bank, what I made for dinner, what I put under the Christmas tree, and the pretty, coffee cake I made that I always thought, oh, I'm going to keep this tradition going. It means I'm a great nurturer.
Yeah.
No, I never felt enough, and I was always seeking validation outside. And so through that process of building validation from the inside, my marriage did not make it, but what made it was this woman inside who started to build self-love and compassion for herself.
Yeah.
And from there, I did have the courage. I mean, at this point then I'm single, I have a mortgage, I have kids in college, and you still got tuition, you still got all these things. And I really wanted to show my boys, I have 2 boys, what love is and compassion, and you can turn your life around and you can start to love yourself. And what does that look like?
Yeah.
Because I certainly didn't want, my parents were divorced, and that was the last thing I wanted.
Yeah.
No one wants that for their children. So that was sort of one of the stories. And, becoming an empty nester, I'm sure you work with a lot of clients, that is very jolting. You have this identity. So that was another little breakthrough I had to move through. But it was through a lot of self-compassion and love and dismantling these stories and beliefs I had about myself of not being enough, and identifying that I actually am enough, and really healing a lot of trauma I had.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, as a high achieving women, we just stay laser focused on getting things done. And
Oh, sure.
right. And we stay focused on, well, everybody else is going through this, and this is just sort of the norm. Everybody just puts their head down and then just works and then skips meals and holds their pee for 3 hours.
It's so true.
Right. I mean, it's not just me that does it. Like, everybody does that. I just need to go ahead and just nail down, get this done. And then I can go pee, and then I can go eat, and then I can whatever.
Yeah.
And so would you say, like, with regards to, because one topic we do focus on is marriage, would you say this was your part in the demise of the relationship, with being laser focused, on work, on tasks? Like, how would you phrase that?
Yeah. My part was that I had a belief I had to do everything on my own, and that, I no one would ever be there to support me. And the way I was raised and survived was believing I'm on my own. And so I got to be right. Even though I had a partner that was there, the core belief inside of me was he's really just not going to be there. It's something I better do this on my own. And you push someone away enough and you just laser focus on doing it on your own all the time, they're not going to help you make dinner. You're not going to ask for help.
Yeah.
You're just going to like push them aside. So that was my part. I just was like, I can do it better. They like how I do it better. No, he doesn't do it how I do it. He's a different person. So I didn't even allow that in because I didn't even know how to ask for help. I have a partner now, and I had to practice quite a bit on being vulnerable to ask and allow to be nurtured and supported. Like, I'm worthy of that. And what does that feel like? Because I have to be honest, it was completely foreign to me.
Yeah.
And for many of my clients, that is not comfortable. With hypnosis now, I know in the subconscious mind, our mind moves towards what's familiar and what's unfamiliar. That was just not familiar to me. That was not safe. And that was my part.
The following question, because as you're saying that, I have to do it. I'm the one who has to take charge. I can't tell you how many women say that in
sure.
couples therapy, in coaching. So my question to you is, why didn't you trust him? Like, why didn't you trust him to go ahead and help you carry that weight? Why didn't you trust him to provide that support?
Yeah, it was a lack of it was unhealed trauma, unhealed pain, abandonment issues that I hadn't healed, just things that I had buried and wasn't even aware that I had buried. I had just really been buzzing through life so fast and not allowed myself to slow down. And what's so funny about it was that I've always had what I thought until recently was a spiritual component in my life. I had done some meditation, gone to yoga retreats, I had lots of self-help books on the shelf, but I sort of skirted around going deep within myself.
Yeah.
And I was afraid to do that. I was afraid of therapy. I was afraid of, well, what are they going to find out about me, to be honest?
Am I going to like myself after it?
Right. I was scared. It's like, and we talked about couples therapy, and I was scared because it's like, well, they're going to find out something about me that you might not like. I mean, I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I'm being vulnerable. And I know a lot of people feel that way.
Hell yeah.
And, and so it's funny now I'm doing this with clients, and I'm being so vulnerable here, and so it was really more that I didn't trust and love myself.
Bingo.
I was not being vulnerable.
Bingo.
Yeah.
I asked that question because a lot of people will go to, oh, well, it was his fault. He, if he would have picked up more of the slack, I told him what to do. I get that a lot. I told him if he would have done this, this, and this, then I would trust him. How could I trust him? He wasn't even doing this, this, and this. And you went straight to, there was a lot of unhealed pain. And I was.
Yeah, it took me a while to get there. Don't get me wrong.
Right here. Me too. Me too. Because
I didn't used to say that.
No.
I used to say, well, I told him 100 times he didn't do it that way. He did it wrong.
Bingo. It's his fault. It's his. Let's look at his shit. Why are we looking at my shit? I got all my shit organized.
He fell asleep on the couch.
Exactly. But I love, and I'm glad we're talking about this because, ladies, if you find yourself like similar to Christina in, just she felt overworked. And one thing she was able to recognize is that she was doing it to herself. And one area, and this goes for all of us. I've 1,000% been here. We don't have enough time to go through my shit, but I've covered it. I've covered it in other podcast episodes. Been very, very vulnerable and covered it in other podcast episodes. But ultimately, one thing I often say is it starts with us. You want change in your relationship, whatever relationship it is, friendship, family, your partner, relationship with yourself. It literally starts with you. And so it's just, it's reassuring. I shouldn't say it's reassuring. It's a beautiful thing that right now, Christina, you were able to say, I wasn't willing to look at my stuff. And I wasn't willing to, even though therapy was mentioned, I wasn't in a space where I was ready to allow somebody else in. I wasn't allowing my husband in. How would I allow this therapist in? Right?
Yeah. No, everything had to dismantle, and I had to hit rock bottom.
Yes.
I had to hit rock bottom. And I'm shared because I don't believe everybody has to hit rock bottom. My marriage, I don't know what would have happened had I done these things sooner. Yeah. And so, I'm in a beautiful relationship now. Do we do couples therapy? Yeah, we do. And do I have to do therapy one-on-one? Yeah, I do. And I have energy healers. I have coaches. I have a lot of support. And I will always do those things because that's important and I need it. And I get off track and I get triggered and I'm human and I need to get back on track. And, oh yeah, I remember that tool. And, and I work with clients every day and do this, but life and things happen and sometimes we get sucked back into something. It's like, wait a second, I recognize things so much quicker now and want to support myself and really, I want to feel love. I want to let those things in. And it's so much better when we have, other people supporting us. And we also, now I'm not as exhausted in terms of running around people pleasing the world because, when you let things in and, my validation doesn't come from the outside, I had that career and now I get to have just as dynamic of a career, but my validation isn't like, okay, I want my clients to be successful, but I also know I'm worthy despite this successful career, which is pretty cool.
1,000%. Yeah. And that worthiness is not dependent on someone else. It's this practice of self-validation.
Yeah. And, the first thing one of my clients will always say when they reach out is, I have so much to be grateful for. I can't even believe I'm calling you.
Yes.
I feel bad. I feel so bad. I think, why are we apologizing that you want a little support and help or feel better in an area or you want to ask for that raise and you can tell it's hard for you, but they have to apologize for all the things that are good. I shouldn't want this. I shouldn't need help in this because I have healthy kids. So therefore I shouldn't want this. It's like, what?
I know looking for the right therapist can be challenging. However, feeling overwhelmed and disconnected is even harder. Life is filled with several twists and turns, some more severe than others. We do our best to handle them as they come and find ourselves at a loss, not knowing what to do or who to turn to. The clinicians here at Outside the Norm Counseling are here to help. We are here to assist you through this time of need. Together, we will identify your strengths and goals and teach you healthy coping skills. Together, we will develop a plan to help you live the life you want to live. Our team is compassionate, genuine, and we take a great deal of pride in providing an empathetic, non-judgmental approach to all of our clients. It's time! You've waited long enough, whether it be for you, your child, or if you're in need of a couple session. We are highly trained clinicians ready to guide you. Schedule an appointment now by calling 951-395-3288. Again, that number is 951-395-3288. We're looking forward to meeting you and being a part of your journey.
Yeah. Or,
that's common.
Or I should already know how to do this. I should already know how to do this. I should be able to make time for this. I should be able to blah. Yeah. And the reality is, well, for one, you've been working your ass off and you keep on moving that damn goalpost. And so, in theory, sure, we, maybe not should, but we can have those things. But if you don't sit the hell down and look at what you have and created so far, well, how can we even get to that next step when you're running with, your head caught off, and just continuously running and not sitting down to reset and plan or design what you want the rest of your life to look like? You're being told.
Good point. Good point. Yes.
One of my friends, she's a really good friend and colleague. Her and I, we went away just 2 weeks ago, and her and I both, we have two businesses, and the main purpose of this getaway was what do we actually want to do? What do we want to do with our life? We have these two businesses. We're both therapists. We're married. We have kids. And so like, what do we want life to look like? And we're both overachievers. Like we were at poolside with a notebook, writing notes, doing exercises.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting because what we both found out about ourselves, because of course we're both therapists. So we were both holding therapy sessions. Let's go ahead and take that one deeper. You said this, right?
Yeah.
We're totally
supporting one another.
Well, my kids call it therapizing. Are you therapizing me? Yeah, we were totally therapizing each other. And it was so interesting because we noticed those patterns. And I love how you said it was, and I wrote it down, never felt enough and seeking validation from others. Where would you say that comes from for you?
So I think, to no fault of how my mom, I had teenage parents, and, my mom was 17 when she had me and then quickly had many other kids. And my dad was pretty much the same age.
Yeah.
And so, they didn't know what they were doing, and I was the oldest. And so just again, I was on my own a lot. Mm-hmm. And having to figure things out. And so I think my mom went through a lot of growing up in front of me, and a lot of what I did was make sure she was okay. Yes. And a lot of calming down things at home, and just, putting out fires at home. And so, you learn, you don't know you're doing it. You don't know you're learning it, but you very quickly learn what's going to make life safe and happy at home. And so, if I do this and I do that, then things are going to be happy and calm, and I'm going to feel safe. Yes. And so that's really just, and I did it in the corporate world. The things I put up with, the cultures I put up with.
Isn't it crazy?
And I think many people do.
We recreate our childhood. Isn't that crazy? Like literally 100%. We recreate our childhood.
When I look back at the bosses and the people and the corporate things I put up with, and the 3 o'clock in the morning, and sure, it's okay to text me, and it's midnight on Saturday night. Yeah, I'll do that spreadsheet. This is the things I allowed in because sure, I'll put that fire out, and it's in another department. And so, I thought, they love me. They love me. Yeah. I'm so good.
I'm so great at my job.
I'm the only one.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm the only one.
So, right. So, it was that. And I also grew up with this mindset that, my work was my validation, and also a mindset about money that, we were living paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. And so my mindset and culture around money was just that, like, I better hustle, mm-hmm. and it's going to go away. So it didn't matter how much I was making. And that also influenced my spending habits. So I had to do a lot of work around that because, and it caused a lot of fights in my marriage because, rightfully so, my spending habits were toxic. And I knew it. I didn't understand it. And I didn't know how to control it. And I did have to get really deep and look at some hard things about that. And when I really looked and thought, I'm filling a gap. I'm trying to make myself feel better. But why do I keep doing this? It's not making me feel better. It's making me feel worse when I look at the credit card bill. And it really came down to a deep mindset of like, I'm not going to have it, so I have to spend it. It was a lack mindset, a scarcity mindset. And it came down to, in hypnosis, I found a lot of these stories about, well, you better spend it now because you might not have it later. Yes. And stories of, mom's a waitress, and if you get lunch money, it depended on how many tips she got the night before. And you don't get lunch money if she didn't have any tips. Yeah. And so you heal that, and you can reframe things and rewrite your childhood with some of the methods that we have now with therapy, and rewire and help, that inner child feel safe.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, like, as you're going through your childhood, I'm like, holy shit, were we sisters? Because And most women, I did this series on high achieving women. And it was this podcast series on high achieving women and their struggles. And everybody said the same thing. And it was like, oh my God,
I know.
this is, I watched this TikTok video because that's where I get like all of my latest news and words of wisdom. And it was, there was one of my friends had mentioned to me or had showed me, I don't remember, that you just, high achievers need just enough trauma where it's not necessarily that they go over the edge or they're addicts, but they need just that right amount of trauma to make them high achievers, because they're looking for validation in the work that they do and this level of appreciation. But then when people look at them and validate them and appreciate them, they're like, no, I'm not done yet. Look the other way. Let me go ahead and fix this, or let me go ahead and outperform. And then you could look at me, but it's just this constant, right? It's so true. And I'm listening to you right now and listening to your childhood. And it's like, holy shit, it totally makes sense. She recreated her childhood and now her boss, is her dad or her mom, and of course I'm going to please and appease you at 3:00 in the morning. I was not sleeping. That's for the weak. Who sleeps? I'm good.
I'm not trying to be at a little league game or anything. Or, with my kids that I haven't seen all week.
No,
yeah.
Never. I'm not at the little league game typing up the report that you asked for. Like, that's absurd.
All that.
Right? And so with all of that, obviously it has taught us a whole hell of a lot. And we're pretty successful. So it's gotten us somewhere. We're kicking and screaming and maybe one freaking burnt casserole away from like absolutely losing our shit. Right. But what would you say is the greatest lesson from your childhood that you were able to turn from dysfunctional to healthy?
Greatest lesson. That's such a good question. There's so many. I think deep down, I've always had a big heart, and I always was able to connect with people. And actually, intuition is something that actually is enhanced when you live in a home that has some trauma.
Yeah.
And I use my intuition. I'm a medical intuitive. I'm a Reiki healer. I'm an energy healer. I never would have imagined all these things in my life now. I'm a really, I think, a pretty cool bridge between some pretty practical corporate business acumen and woo, because, I don't look like an energy healer, nose rings and feathers hanging out. I, look like a mom. I'm a mom. So, we mix these two. But, my intuition was something I could walk in a room and I knew exactly how my mom was, what was going on, the vibe.
Who I needed to
what
be.
to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So that was honed very early. Yeah. That's a gift. Yep. And, so now I know I can tune in very quickly. I ground myself. I have a morning routine that I just know I have to stick to. Yeah. I know my nervous system now very well because of my childhood. Yeah. And I know that I have to honor my nervous system. I have to calm it down. I have to ground it, or I'll just spin out. Yep. And I know that there's toxic masculine energy that I can drive my business like a crazy woman if I want, or I can actually tune in and ground myself and get shit done in a less toxic way, where I have some sanity and balance, and I can nurture and allow support and help and, this divine feminine badass also,
Hell yeah.
There's some, there's a balance there, because the toxic part isn't even paying attention to all the glory and beauty around me. No. So you got to have both, because the other one was just too much, tunnel vision and didn't even see the beauty around her.
Bingo. I love the fact that you went straight to intuition. I would say that's one of my biggest lessons as well. Like my dad was,
good.
My dad was a heroin addict, an alcoholic, and a hardcore gang member.
Wow.
And so watching, like, coming into the house and maybe there's allegedly, okay, FBI or police that are listening. Just kidding. My dad's passed, but like, I remember there would be like people that were really, really dangerous in my house.
Yes.
That were also gang members. And I remember those dynamics happening, and like this was just the norm, and so it was like, okay, when this person talks to you, use this approach instead of this one, and then when you're in this room, or if you're hearing something, find a way to shut that out, don't personalize it, and then figure out a way to go ahead and go from A to Z. And then
think about that.
Yes, right. And so that intuition and then me going through it I'm sure this is the same for you, when I'm with, my clients and I'm in session and they're processing through childhood trauma or they're processing through their pain. It's like, holy shit, I totally remember when I was in that feeling. Maybe not that exact scenario, right? But I can literally, like, as you're saying, I wouldn't, my lunch money depended on, whether or not my mom, made enough money as tips. Right away, I thought, holy shit. Same with my dad. My dad was a barber. And if he got a really good amount, I can be the cool kid that buys lunch. But if not, then I'm totally going to the lunch line where I got lunch for free because right? So it was like that determined my day and how I'm going to go about manipulating it so my friends don't see that I'm getting free lunch and I can say I paid for it, right? Like you try to adapt.
Exactly. I get to bring a ding dong and look like the other kids today. Otherwise, nope. I got to have the lunch that people make fun of. I get it. Yep. Yeah, that intuition but using it as a gift instead of a survival, and I do use it with clients. I use it in life and use it as a gift.
So let's go ahead and talk about hypnotherapy with your clients. And so this is right here what sets you apart from other hypnotherapists and other people that do the coaching that you do, because you're able to tap into both areas and you have that familiarity and you're able to build up the rapport with your clients quickly. So take me through the experience your clients get when working with you.
Yeah. So we really just, very quickly for, of whatever they want to work on, we all have, our conscious and our subconscious mind. And in our subconscious, we have these beliefs. And so whatever anyone wants to achieve, if it's love or money or self-esteem or confidence, which is everyone wants those things, right? Whatever they're focusing on, is we go through a process of finding out what are those invisible barriers in the subconscious mind. So it feels like a meditation. If, a lot of people see, I know when I said I was going to be a hypnotherapist, my boys were like, oh my gosh, Mom, you're like the guy at the fair on stage, acting silly. But it's like a meditation process. And our mind, we are so incredible. Our mind, when we ask the right questions and we relax the chitty chatter that thinks it knows everything, and we just relax that part, our mind will show us exactly where we created these beliefs that make us not feel good enough or smart enough or whatever the belief is that's blocking that thing that we are worthy of. So the money, the love, whatever, because we want love, but we don't want to be vulnerable and express our feelings. So those two things right there, we can't be in two lanes. We got to be in one lane. We're going to sabotage it. That's what sabotage is when we want one thing, but I want to lose weight, but I don't want to be sexy because last time I was sexy, bad things happened. Okay. Well, then guess what? You're going to eat, cookies at 11 o'clock at night and you're going to sabotage it. So we go through that process. And in hypnosis, I do a lot of coaching to support that process, because when you are going through a shift of believing one thing and trying to believe another thing, I'll give you an audio recording to listen to, because the science part is you listen to something over and over and we create a new neural pathway. Great. But the real world is you're changing your belief. You go out, downstairs in the kitchen, somebody says something and you're triggered or, you get angry or you get agitated because your mind is like, I know you're trying to express yourself, but that's not a good idea because, that's not safe. So I'm always working with clients at least once a week while they're adapting and changing. And we're doing a lot of deep inner work, inner child, inner parent, energy movement, clearing. If it's in someone's interests, I'll do past life regression and Reiki and moving energy out, because we're physical beings and energetic beings.
Yeah.
And both of those things together can really move these things quickly for people. So it's kind of a combination of all of it, depending on, some people say don't talk about that woo stuff, and that's good too.
Yeah, I love that.
It's very effective and very powerful.
For somebody that wants to work with you, how can they find you?
So my website is ChristinaLWoods.com, and I've got a great freebie audio on there, a hypno meditation they can check out. And it's not going to send you on a wild ride. It's just a little meditation. You can check things out. And I would love it. I also always offer a free hour for people. They can go to book.ChristinaLWoods.com and just ask me questions or talk about whatever's on their mind. Any women that our listeners want to talk about their lives, and I'm happy to answer their questions.
What is the one main question that you get often?
Why do I sabotage, or why can't I? Yeah, why I've already worked on this. Why does it keep coming up?
Why does this shit keep on coming back?
Yeah, I'm sick of it. Yeah. And it's you know what? No one needs to feel bad. It's just we fix things here at the surface level and we get frustrated. But when you go to the root, it's like pulling weeds. If you chop them off at the top, they're just going to grow back. Go to the root. Go to the cause.
Yep. And if we want to follow you on social media, where can we find you?
Thanks for asking. On Instagram, it's Christina.lwoods. So at Christina.lwoods.
Awesome. You guys have to go ahead and book her for that free hour, because I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to want more. You're going to totally want more. Christina, thank you so much for just having an open, vulnerable conversation with me, and for allowing, our listeners to go ahead and hear that badass women, we're all struggling in different areas, but with real help, we're able to go ahead and take it to the next level so that we can live the life we actually want to live versus what we feel forced to live. So thank you so much.
It's true. Thank you, Veronica.
Raise your hand if you are ready to level up your marriage for 2023. Do you find that you're spending your time together with your husband checked out and in front of the TV? I know you're ready for tangible strategies that actually get you results. Reignite the spark in your marriage, have fun, and grow together. Well, I hope you have your hand raised at this minute, because I have something special for you. I'm introducing my brand new 6-question marriage predictor quiz that's gonna give you personalized results to catapult you into the next stage of your marriage journey. That means you'll receive the results to where your marriage can get the best help. If you've got just 1 minute, head to veronicacisneros.org/quiz. Again, that's veronicacisneros.org/quiz, and you could take my brand new quiz, Marriage Predictor. Get your results delivered right to your email address. Again, that's veronicacisneros.org/quiz, veronicacisneros.org/quiz. What's up, ladies? Just want to let you guys know that your ratings and reviews for this podcast are greatly appreciated. If you love this podcast, please go to iTunes right now, write a review, rate the episode, and subscribe. Don't forget to share it with your friends.
I know we've been taught that motherhood requires alcohol. I know we've been taught not to question our relationship with alcohol until we've lost everything. And I know we've been taught that if we do dare to examine our relationship with alcohol, we need to head straight to AA and declare ourselves an alcoholic who is powerless to alcohol forever. But what if all that isn't true? That's definitely not my story. I'm Suzanne, the host of the Sober Mom Life podcast. I'm an influencer who stopped drinking in January 2020, and since then, I've been telling the truth about motherhood, influencing, alcohol, and sobriety. If you suspect deep down that glass or 3 of wine at night might just be making motherhood harder, Well, you're right. Come and join me as I chat with other sober and sober curious moms. Let's laugh, cry, and normalize sobriety together, all while we reheat our coffee for the fourth time today.